Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 2 of the Vuelta España 2023. Today is a stage of lessons to be learned. Anytime you wake up and you're racing the professional Peloton in Europe, and especially when it's a big one like at a Grand Tour, and rain is dropping everywhere, roads are slippery and icy, you need to be attentive throughout the whole stage. And if you're a professional bike racer, if you're one of the directors sportifs guiding these young kids here at the Vuelta España, you got to keep one thing in mind. No matter what kind of deals are being made between the riders, the only deal that matters is whatever the official put into play when the race started from kilometer 0. I was racing with FDJ in the 90s, and I was doing Torino Adriatico when Stefan Elo, who's now the manager for Lotto Destiny, he came up to me when we were teammates, and I had some pretty good form on this stage early in Torino Adriatico, and he said, hey, they're going to neutralize the stage. All the professional riders have decided to take it a little bit of safe because there's a lot of construction going up the climb on the circuit of the course. He said, but be careful. I said, okay, great. That's a great plan. I'll hang out at the back. Be careful. Well, the very next lap, everybody lit it up at the front. Peloton blew up in pieces. And when I finished last on that stage, Stefan Lowe came up to me and said, what happened, man? I thought you said you had some good legs. I said, I did. You said the stage was going to be neutralized up to one lap to go, and then we would start racing. So I was going to get to the front then. Stefan Lowe said, I told you to be careful. Well, I took be careful as be careful because the road is dangerous. There's construction all over the place, and the descent was crazy technical, just like we normally see on those narrow Italian roads when you see construction out there. So I was hanging out the back. He said, no, I didn't want you to be careful because of the course. I wanted you to be careful because you can't trust anybody at the European Peloton. That was the first lesson I learned at about 25 years of age while riding for FDJ. Don't trust anybody that's not your teammate. Since that year in the 90s, I learned that even if he is your teammate, because I've had at least 2, no, for sure 3, that you couldn't trust that are wearing your jersey too. So if you don't know the guy personally, you don't trust anything when the racing begins other than what the officials have told you how they're going to race. Today's stage gets altered a little bit at the beginning and gets altered at the finish because they're going to employ a 9-kilometer rule, which means when we come into the finish of today's stage that normally starts the last climb with about 8.3 kilometers to go, the race is going to be neutralized. All the GC guys have to make it to 9 kilometers to go, and then the official stage time is going to end there. Now, the race officials kept things interesting, though, because they kept in the time bonuses of 10, 6, and 4. So the GC guys are going to have to all agree not to race the final at 8.3 kilometers to go, that final climb, then the crazy descent, and then, of course, the 1.4 kilometer climb up to the finish. That'll stop today's stage 2 here and allow the riders finally some respite and get some rest and recovery. But keep in mind, like I said, if the officials say there's time bonuses, that means there's time bonuses. But you know for sure the GC guys are all talking to each other because before the race even starts proper, we see Jonas Vingegaard. He's going to pull up next to the Movistar bus. He's going to wait for a couple people to drop down the stairs. Then he's going to slide up the stairs and he's going to have a little chat with Enric Mas. The cameras are watching it all, and we see Jonas Vingegaard look back, and then the GC and commentators quiet it up just a little bit so we can hear Jonas Vingegaard start trying to make some deals there with Enric Mas, saying, hey, maybe we don't start if the race officials aren't going to adjust the time finishes on today's stage. Well, the door closes, and that's all I get to hear. And after that, we get into seeing the race director, Javier's comments from yesterday's stage. He says, well, it was totally unexpected yesterday. I was like, totally unexpected yesterday? Rain in Europe, finishing the race at just as the sun starts to set? What's unexpected about that? If sun sets at 8:30, well, it's going to be dark. If the rains come in and the clouds thing and the rain drops on the road, it's going to be dangerous and no one can see anything. It's unexpected that you can't predict that your race is finishing right when it's going to be dark for, of course, the most important teams like Jumbo-Visma. Let me remind you guys, they won the Giro and the Tour de France this year, and Remco Evenepoel's team, Soudal Quickstep, last to go off the ramp. They're the defending champs with Remco Evenepoel. So you're put in all the GC favorites that are trying to win yesterday's team time trial last when they're going in the dark. And you can't predict that? That's pretty easy to predict. He also says he doesn't have a button to make the clouds and the rain go away. So if you don't have a button, you should predict that it's possible it might rain, and if it's dark and late and sunset, it's going to be too dark for the riders to race. That's why we saw Remco Evenepoel having so many interviews at the finish of yesterday's stage, complaining about how dark it was. Not complaining about the rain, but complaining about how dark it is. I got your back, Remco. That was a beautiful interview after yesterday's stage 1. Now, let's get into racing. We know it's going to be wet all day. We know it's going to be slippery. We know it's going to be miserable conditions. When the cameras come on, we're just over 115 kilometers to go. 5 riders are in the front brake. Most important rider to focus on, EF Education's Piccoli's up there, so you know there's a threat for taking the race leader's red jersey here for Piccolo because he's 6 seconds down on the general classification lead from DSM Malaysia. Malaysia's wearing the race leader's red jersey, but Piccolo at 6 seconds and 5 riders in the front group is a bit of a threat. We see the cameras move back to the Peloton. DSM are all over the front. Like I told you guys yesterday on the butterfly effect, with DSM riding on the front full gas, they're going to try to control everything into the final of today's stage. Now, up front with that group of 5, I told you Piccolo, well, he's got 4 guys in there and they're all pulling hard. He's got some company from Astana's, that's Romo that's up there, and he has some company from the Jaco Alula rider. Let's back up the film a little bit to yesterday's team time trial because Jaco Alula lost guys all over the place. They had 6 guys go down early in that team time trial stage. When they went into the right corner, all crashed in the same place where Ineos crashed. And then, of course, at the very last left corner, that's where they lost Eddie Dunbar. So Jaco Alula right now with Sobrero in this front group of 5, they're motivated to try to get some kind of happiness back to the team. Other riders in the group, Yetzi Bull is up there from Burgos BH. And then we got Caja Rural that's up there. And Caja Rural have Joel Nucolau up there. Now with those 5 riders, they're going full gas. Behind DSM got a little bit of pressure on them, but they got everything what looks like under control with when we're coming up over the first Category 2 climb here. And they only have about 1 minute and 15 seconds as we see the first KOM. They'll go over the top of the hill, start the descent, and then with 95 kilometers to go, we see Remco Evenepoel pull off the back. Nobody knows exactly what happened. Up on the WhatsApp thing with GCN commentators said, somebody said on WhatsApp that a bunch of guys got flats on the road of about 15 riders. Well, Remco Evenepoel's taking his sweet time. During his ventures from 95 kilometers to 85 kilometers to go, there's an interview on the GCN commentators with Remco Evenepoel, and he's talking about yesterday's stage. He's saying, I didn't see anything, so I don't know what happened yesterday. And then he's talking about today's stage is a little bit ridiculous too, with all the rain and how the race officials are giving the time bonuses at the finish of today's stage. Pretty entertaining interview. Remco Evenepoel never changed because if you do anything right besides winning bike races, because you do win big bike races, you give great interviews. I love them. So, takes him about 10 kilometers to get back on, but he had his team all around him, wraps back into the Peloton with about 85 kilometers to go. Things start getting interesting. Once we start getting into about 45 kilometers to go, the Peloton starts getting nervous. We see DSM's getting swarmed all over the place. If I back the film up to 55 kilometers to go, one thing I left out, Alpecin de Koenig started to get it on the front. Now as we get back under 45 kilometers to go, we see it's getting nervous there when we got Jumbo-Visma, Ineos, UAE Team Emirates at the front, and DSM are starting to get swarmed. Things start getting really exciting with 32 kilometers to go. As the Peloton comes flying into the roundabout, we see the UAE Team Emirates rider up front. He's going to lose his front wheel. He's going to take out Primoz Roglic from Jumbo-Visma, the Giro d'Italia champ. The champ's going to take out Ineos rider Geraint Thomas too. All 3 riders are going to get back up and into the Peloton. And then up front in the break, what happened? Well, earlier in the stage, we lost 2 of the riders. Caja Royale dropped off the back, Joel. And then we lost Yetzi Bull. Yetzi Bull from Burgos BH. When they're coming down the descent, they open up the gap. Now we got 3 riders up front, and they're going full gas. But we're going to see Piccolo go into the roundabout, and he's going to get tied up and lose it. He's going to crash, jump back up, try to get on his bike, and then realize he's got a chain problem. He's reaching down, trying to fix the chain. You see the spectator there on the roundabout running over, trying to give him a push. But it's not going to be any help because the chain's not coming back on. Just about that time, I'm thinking, man, your race might be over because the gap's down to about 1 minute and 10 seconds. I don't know if you can get back on, but maybe you can, or maybe there's some more incidents back there in the professional Peloton as they're going full gas back there. Then we see the mechanic back there run back up to Andre Piccolo. He throws him the bike, and Piccolo gets a great push, and he's back on the car there of Jaco Alula. Now, if you ever get a chance to race in the professional Peloton and you're on the back of the car on wet, slippery roads, it's scary. I mean, big time scary. You're probably doing 80, you could be doing 85 kilometers an hour easily on the bumper of a car like Jaco, going full gas through city streets. It is dangerous. When I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, I'm thinking, oh, Piccolo, man, I don't know if it's worth it. It looks like you guys got a shot here of holding off, but you're going to need some luck from the back of the Peloton back there. Piccolo will get back onto the front. Then we go back to the Peloton. Well, Piccolo's going to get a little bit of help because the Peloton's starting to slow down. We see Jumbo-Visma coming to the front. They're getting all angry at everybody at the front of the Peloton, yelling and screaming back there. We see Jonas Vingegaard go up there. Dylan Van Barley's up there. He's trying to slow down the Peloton, arms waving all over the place. Then you look over to the left. That's Hessink over there from Jumbo-Visma. He's trying to slow down the left. Jonas trying to slow down the center, and Van Barley's trying to slow down the right side of the Peloton. This is always what happens and what I was talking about at the beginning of the stage here. Don't trust anybody. If your objective is to try to win the stage, don't slow down, because when they're arguing back there, the pace is slowing down. The group of three now starting to get some time back on the Peloton, and now I'm thinking, whoo, man, they might just make it to the finish here, because they only got to go to 9 kilometers to go where the time shuts off for Piccolo if he wants to get the race leader's red jersey. Well, we see Alpecin de Koenig get back on the front. They're having a little bit of discussion with Pseudo Quickstep there. For sure, there's some arguing going on with them going to the front, trying to go full gas. But hey, the rules are set. 9 kilometers is a safe distance out, I believe. Roads are slippery, messy, I know, but what are you going to do? Cancel the stage? Either cancel it or race it, but one or the other, you got to pick and decide. I hate when they're trying to change the rules and make deals during the race, but it's always going to happen. Well, Alpecin de Koenig start going full gas. UAE team members not happy. They're going to come up and start arguing too. And then finally, Alpecin de Koenig, DSM start getting back on the front, going full gas. Time gap up to the 3 leaders starts coming down. Then we're going to see all of a sudden Sobrel's legs are going to blow. Once his legs blow, we leave it with 2 guys on the front now going full gas. And Piccolo has motivation because he knows he can get the race leader's red jersey now if his legs can hold together, and Romo from Astana can help him out. They're going full gas. The Peloton's hitting about 22 kilometers to go with a hard right turn. Once they make this right, as you see in the back of the Peloton before they start the right proper, there's a crash. Race leaders, red jerseys going down. That's Malaysia up there. Hard to see him with all the rain and spots on the camera, but take my word for it. Upper top of the picture, slightly over from the right side to the left of the picture, you'll see Malaysia there in the race leader's jersey. And if that's not clear enough, a couple kilometers later with about 19K to go, we see Malaysia dropped off the back. We know now DSM are not going to have the race leader's jersey on Malaysia's back at the end of the day. That's okay. I'm sure they were probably thinking about another rider. Maybe a Romain Bardet possibly putting in the race leader's red jersey after we finish the last 2 bumps into the stage 2 finish here. Well, the Peloton's going full gas back there, but the 2 up front, they're driving it hard. 15 kilometers to go. The gap's still doable up there to the group of 2 because they got about a 40-second gap on the Peloton. Once we get under 10 kilometers to go, we know Piccoli's going to most likely put the race leader's red jersey on at the finish of today's stage. Go under 9 kilometers to go. We know there's a gap, but nobody knows exactly how much. Even the race commentators on GCN, they don't know where the line is. I don't know where the line is, but it looks like the gap was big enough. The big climb starts. It's 1 kilometer long, just under 9%. We see it's FDJ on the front. They're going full gas. We got about 30 guys in the front, and then the camera scans back. Well, all the big GC favorites sat up, went curb to curb, and they're going to take it safe. What's happening for the stage? Well, up front, FDJ is going full gas. It's about 8 kilometers to go. They wrap up the last 2 leaders. Piccolo's back in the group, and Romo's back in the group with FDJ going full gas. 4.5 kilometers to go. Alpecin de Koenig's on the front. They're trying to control it. They got a sprinter, Caden Groves, and the last final climb's not too difficult, but he's got to get up over this super steep 9% pitch if he wants to be able to win today's stage. Once the climb gets hard and stiff, that's when we start seeing Trek Segafredo throw an attack. Ed Toons possibly, but I can't make out the picture. Your guess is about as good as mine. He'll get wrapped back in, and we'll see that it's Cofidis going up the road. Remy Rokas, he's throwing in a hard attack. Look at the camera angle from the top. 2 Lotto riders, one on the right, one on the left. Rider on the left is Andreas Krohn. Krohn is motivated today. He throws in a big acceleration, bridges up the gap to the Cofidis rider, then dislodges him with a couple more pedal strokes. Goes over the top of the KOM here, solo with about a 2-second gap on 3 riders. take a look at these three riders. Most important thing to point out, well, that's a Lotto Destiny rider back there. So really, it's not three riders, it's two riders. They'll get company with one more that'll latch on. But the Lotto Destiny rider, Leonard, I believe it is. I could be wrong. It might be Sebastian because there's only three that'll finish in the front of today's stage. But I'm going to take a guess and say it's Leonard. Leonard's doing an amazing job shutting everything down. They'll drop down a descent up front with Krohn. He's going full gas. We see him on the back of the motorcycle for just a brief second, and he's yelling for the motorcycle to get out of the way. It's wet. There's leaves everywhere, and he's doing 65 kilometers an hour. The three guys behind, well, what happens? You see up front that FDJ rider looks back, and he's looking over at the EF Education rider. Vandenberg, I believe it is. Vandenberg will come through, take a little bit of a pull, but the gap is extending because Krohn is going full gas, hanging everything out on the wet and slippery descent. Once the climb starts back up with 1.4 kilometers to go, Krohn's got about a 10-15 second gap on the chasers of four behind. Now, as the chasers are four, keep in mind, Leonard's still there. Once we get under 1K to go, Leonard back there from Lotto Destiny is doing a marvelous tactical job back here from Lotto Destiny to try to help his teammate up front, Krohn, hold the gap. Krohn's going deep at 900 meters to go. He's looking back a couple times, but as the group behind slows down, becomes about 16 riders. Albacine de Koenig riders in there, Caden Groves, and they were riding throughout the stage from about 55 kilometers to go, and certainly from 30 all the way into this point, trying to win the stage for Caden Groves. But when we look up front, Andreas Klohn, he'll do one last look over his shoulder near the line, and he'll start to celebrate with kisses and send off a great salute to one of the riders that passed away from their under-23 team. The winner of the under-23 Paris-Roubaix edition, Thiel de Decker, who passed away this last week. Now Andreas Klohn, he celebrates his friend and then crosses the line, taking a big victory up here for Lotto Destiny. This was their first World Tour victory, his words, not mine, that they had this season. So it was a big-time objective. And this is what I was saying at the beginning of the stage. Lot of teams have very few opportunities to win a stage. You can't just give them away. I know what the rules are saying, and the race officials did a great job of changing it to 9 kilometers to go. Because when I woke up this morning, I saw from my buddy Mike D, my home skillet, who said, wow, they've changed the finish to 9 kilometers to go for the GC guys. I thought, man, that's crazy. And after I got my breakfast going, I thought, no, it's crazy to race all the way to the finish because these roads are dangerous. So the race officials, in my mind, did a great job. The group behind fighting out for the podium, well, second on the stage was Caden Groves there from Albacine de Koenig. Third was Vendrami from AG2R. That'll round out the group. Everyone else, the GC favorites, didn't lose any time today. But keep in mind, Primoz Roglic went down today. So we'll see if he's really bad for tomorrow's summit finish stage here, stage 3 of the Vuelta. And keep in mind, Geraint Thomas, in his interview, he said he went down, but said his knee is okay. Geraint Thomas said a lot of funny other things in his interview too, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense when he said, well, what makes sense to me is that we keep everything calm going into the roundabouts. You can't keep things calm going into the roundabouts. If you're DSM, if you're Albacine de Koenig going full gas on the front, you back the throttle off, what's going to happen? Ineos is going to come over the top, slow things going into the roundabout, and then they're going to keep things slow coming out of the roundabouts. So Geraint Thomas' interview, talking about how teams need to slow down specifically for the roundabouts, it's never going to happen, which later, of course, he admits. Either way, when you look at the finish of today's stage, it was chaos throughout the last 40, 50 kilometers, so make sure you can go back and watch all of it. But it was a great win for Lotto Destiny to take their first World Tour victory. And of course, Piccolo gets the race leader's red jersey for EF Education, so we're going to see them ride in the front on tomorrow's stage 3. Guys, of course, they have Hugh Carthy on their team too. Should be an exciting, hopefully the sun comes out for tomorrow's stage 3, so it should be exciting and a fun finish to the summit, the first summit here of the Vuelta a España on stage 3. So like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.